nearly 5,000 people are being held against their will, only 20 miles from the borders of Dover. They're being kept in a place which is called a jungle, and it is really a jungle. It is not a jungle because humanity in 21st century wants to live in a jungle. It is not a jungle because people in Europe are wanting and are forcing these people to live in a jungle. It is a jungle because the UK government, the French government, the European governments have all decided to make it a jungle, a place which is fit for animals, not for human beings. It is the right of these people to come and live in somewhere they consider secure. People who have fled from destitution, people who have fled from the war, people who are in fear of their lives, they are only moving to what they consider to be more secure and more acceptable to live. And that's the minimum they want, just to live. Somewhere that they don't have got the fear of bombs falling on their heads, somewhere where they are not under suppression every day. It is the right of these people to choose where they consider to be safe, and citizens of the world supports that right. It is the right of people to flee from wars. It is the right of people to choose where they want to live. That is a basic right of human beings, and every human being has always have to have had this right. It is not right to actually put borders around places. When people were all running away from wars, they said it is not acceptable to come to Europe. It is not acceptable to feel safe simply because the governments in Europe have decided to make it a fortress. The governments in Europe have decided to keep these people out, and the governments of Europe are the ones who are actually creating a jungle from what could be a safe life, somewhere secure where people can actually feel secure. They have come in and said, why they don't go to their neighboring countries? Well, they have been going to the neighboring countries. They have been moving across the whole region. People who are on the war have got the right to move and be away from this war and this destitution. And they go to all these countries. What do? They put them into camps, and then later on handpick and cherry pick some of them to come over, and the rest of them they keep putting back in there. They put them under the squalid conditions, and later on they pick them up and recruit them and send them back to the same war zones. This is not acceptable. Refugees are welcome here. People across UK are saying refugees are welcome here. Today, on the 18th of June, the convoy which is being called for has been called by People Assembly Against Austerity, Stand Up to Racism, War on Want, Stop War Culture, and many others. There has been support from unions, Unison, Unite, CPS, communication workers, journalists, teachers unions, RMT, and many others. And many people around the whole of the country have come and represented their own communities in here. People from Shetlands in Scotland, people from Bristol, people from Convoy, people from Wales. People have come from Norfolk, from Midlands, from South East England. They all have come in here and they've said it is our duty to ensure, when the governments are not doing anything, it is our duty to make sure people are not dying without aid. It is our duty to actually make sure that we pass this message over. This is not just any gathering. The convoy is representative of the general feeling of people in this country. People are bringing a variety of aid. Some 30 to 40 tons of aid has been collected. The aid is supposed to get to the refugees in Calais. It is not acceptable for the local French authorities to ban the delivery of such an aid. It is not acceptable. We are not standing for it, and we are not going to accept their rhetoric about the football hooliganism and terrorists coming over. The whole idea of this is bringing a humanitarian aid to people who desperately need it. It is the right of people in this country to go over and deliver that aid and show that humanity is not dead. Humanity still exists, and humanitarian people in this country have all got together and produced this convoy. It is their right to pass this convoy over, and we support the right of the people to deliver this convoy to the people who are desperately in need of it in Calais. It is not acceptable for all these governments to deny one right. There is a right for people to have, and that's the right to be able to live in a secure place. It is the right of the people to flee from wars. It is the right of people to be able to choose where they consider to be secure and acceptable. As human beings, as people, we do not recognize any kind of borders that they draw, and all the barbed wires they put in front of the people, in front of men, women, children, young, old, in front of everybody, just to be able to keep them away from a secure place. This is not acceptable, and people are not standing for it. We all stand up in here, and I salute you, and I send my solidarity along with many other people who are all saying that it is the right of people to be able to live in a secure place. It is the right of people not to be held in front of their borders, in front of their barricades, in order to stop them from entering another country. If this is the humanity of 21st century, then in that case it is the jungle they want to create. The jungle is their creation, and the closure of that jungle is the first demand of every human being in this country and many people across Europe. We are all saying in here, refugees are welcome here. It is not acceptable to make scapegoat out of refugees. There are all the right-wing organizations, the establishments have got together, and all they're saying is, no, people do not have right to come into this country because there is not enough. Who says there is not enough? The people who have always said there is not enough. The people who do not have anything have never said there is not enough. There are people in here who consider that there is enough in here to be able to cope. There is not enough, but there is enough when it comes to bombs. There is enough when it comes to military. There is enough to have wars. There is enough for variety of the media. There is enough for millions of pounds that is being poured into the racist campaign for referendum. There is enough for everything, but when it comes to people, there is not enough. The government must be responsible for this. The UN is responsible for this. It is the duty of the governments to ensure that people have got a decent housing, decent hygiene, decent access to their healthcare, decent access to education. Refugees and the people who come here are not the cause of this. The cause is elsewhere. And so far as the people in this country is concerned, today is giving a clear message that refugees are welcome in here, and I stand alongside you and salute you all in saying so.
My name is Rahul Patel, and I'm from Brixton. And Brixton this morning we had a minibus of 15 people. They're here, they're all ready to go, and a car. We've had money donated. People have been collecting in local workplaces. They've been donating money all across the community. We've had messages of support from schools, from a whole number of people, because they believe that the solidarity convoy is essential. And I'm going to ask Wayman Bennett from Stand Up to Racism to say a few words.
I think it's brilliant that we've all turned up today outside one of the houses of David Cameron, the man that's got 3 houses. There's plenty of space for refugees there. And we're sending a message to say this. We're going to go right up to the border. It is right that we can bring aid in, and it's right that they should let refugees out of the camp and into this country. They're welcome here. Let's say it loud. Let's say it clear. Refugees. Let's say it loud. Let's say it clear. Refugees are welcome here. Thank you.
So let's get the noise going again. Those car horns. We need to make a little bit of noise, don't we? Yeah, well, come on, a bit more effort there. You don't get a chance to beat your horns much, so this is the time. So wake David Cameron from his cozy little bed. Wakey, wakey, David Cameron. We are here, and refugees are welcome here. Refugees are welcome here. Refugees are welcome here. Refugees are welcome here.
Refugees are welcome here.
Say it loud, say it clear.
Refugees are welcome here.
Say it loud, say it clear. Refugees are welcome here.
I'm going to pass you on to Mandy. Mandy is a college lecturer in Brixton in Lambeth College. And she'll tell you that we have a waiting list of thousands of people who want to attend ESOL classes. ESOL, English as a second language, and this government has cut back on those teaching classes.
Thank you, Solidarity from Lambeth College, and there's quite a few of us here today. Like many people who teach ESOL, English as a second language, we've been horrified at the hypocrisy of the government, blaming blaming Muslim communities, especially women, for not learning English, while at the same time cutting their colleges and cutting the funding so much that people are unable to put classes on it anymore. This is the real reason why people can't learn English in this country, because he has cut the funding. There is no lack of willingness on the part of anybody here who can't speak English to learn English. And actually, when I went to Calais to teach in the camp at half term with some other people from trade unions for Calais, it was exactly the same thing. There were students, refugees, lots of young men turning up for lessons, really desperate to learn English so that they could get on with sorting out their lives. And there were queues of refugees in the freezing cold. It was the teachers that had to leave and go for a break because they were cold. And the students were just there waiting for another teacher to take their place. So we refute the lies of Cameron that tries to blame migrants like he does for everything that's wrong with his policy. It isn't migrants that are blocking off education, that are overcrowding our hospitals. That's not the reason why there's problems. It's because of lack of funding. It's because he cut money from education, from our health services, and shutting down our libraries while he's blaming migrants. So it's fantastic that we're all here today to go over, show some solidarity to the refugees. But ultimately our aim is to close the camps and bring them here because they should be here. Refugees are welcome here. Solidarity.
Persecution deserve to be treated with humanity. For the last year, Barrack has been coordinating convoys to Calais on a near monthly basis, and as a black organisation we face racial profiling when we're crossing through border control. We're also labelled and demonised. The border control people think that we're refugees, we're smuggling people in, we're asked if we have any knives and weapons. We're told if we get into France we could go all the way to Turkey and then cross the border into Syria. We have all sorts of trials and tribulations just taking that aid, but that's nothing compared to what people are facing who are fleeing for their lives. Nobody risks their lives and the lives of their family crossing the Mediterranean to try and get to a safe haven and start their lives again, unless what they're fleeing is much worse than what they're facing. And people are living in an absolute hellhole in those camps in Calais, Dunkirk and other places, and we must send a strong political message. This is a fantastic show of strength that refugees are welcome. Refugees are our sisters and brothers. They're human beings. They shouldn't even be labelled as refugees. It could be any of us. There should be no borders, and we need to say no to Fortress Europe and to end this toxic racist debate that led to a wonderful human being who's fought for rights for refugees, Joe Cox, being murdered by a racist fascist terrorist. Needs to end. A change must come and we must be that change. Thank you.
Hi everybody, my name is Wayman Bennett from Stand Up to Racism, one of the organisers of this convoy, and I'd like to introduce Sharia Ali from the Green Party. Give a round of applause.
Thanks very much, Wayman. It is hugely inspiring to see us filling Whitehall like this with a convoy to Calais. Now, as we know, it's been a very dispiriting, despairing few days. And although there's been an announcement that EU referendum campaigning should take a break, there's something which cannot stop, and that's politics generally. Because politics is all around. And whilst we take a moment to reflect on the heinous terroristic incident, we must also reflect that those people suffering injustice continue to suffer injustice, minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day. And that is why, when we reflect on all those things, as Neil Kinnock said, Joe Cox was a doer, and that's what we are. We are doing. All that is necessary for evil to triumph is for good men or women to do nothing. We understand that. We understand the injustice that has been perpetrated upon people halfway around the world, with bombs raining upon them, whether Syria, whether Iraq, Afghanistan. I've met those refugees in the jungle, and I saw the look on their faces, the solidarity and the hope that they felt when they had goods coming to their doorstep. And that's what we're going to do here. We are going to spite what those on the border are telling us. How can it be civilized for somebody to say, no, you cannot come across the border to give people goods, to show your love, to show your solidarity? That is injustice. And that is why more unites us than divides us. And we will not let anybody divide us. You are a beautiful gathering here today, and I hope to see you in Calais very soon. Thank you.
To people who desperately need it, who have suffered more than most people in this country can imagine, who have risked their lives, lost their family members, seen their homes destroyed, and are living in utterly disgraceful conditions in the jungle in Calais. First and foremost, this is about aid to them. It is about saying to the politicians in this country, stop pretending that ordinary working people in this country are racist or don't care about refugees. That is true of you, but it is not true of us. The vast majority of ordinary working people in this country, despite now years of government attacking their jobs and their homes and their NHS and their education, despite all that, they reach out their hand to people who are worse off than they are. They care, and the politicians do not care. That's the truth. And we're here today to show that ordinary working people in this country, and there are people here today from the Shetland Islands in the north to the south coast, who are here to say refugees are welcome here. And let's face it, that message needs to be heard. It needs to be heard loud and clear, now more than ever. We have just gone through the mayoral campaign in London, which was one of the most racist campaigns that I have ever seen. We are in the midst of an EU referendum campaign, which from all the leading Tory and right-wing voices on both sides of that debate is one of the most racist campaigns I have ever seen. It's a disservice to the people of this country by the politicians of this country. It's a disservice and a lie to include us in that racist dialogue. We don't agree with it, we won't accept it, and we're here to say it should not stand. Let's be clear what's at the basis of this. Human beings have always travelled. Since we first walked upright and walked out of Africa, human beings have always travelled to get away from war and fear, to find a better life. It's what they do. And no amount of barbed wire and borders, of checkpoints and walls will stop them doing that. Those walls and those borders and those checkpoints and that wire are simply engines of misery to divide us from one another. We're here to go to Calais and to say to the French government, lift the ban. This is a humanitarian mission, it's an anti-racist mission, and the people who stand in its way are anti-humanitarian and racist. So get off our backs and let us get through to Calais to deliver the aid.
Refugees are welcome here. Say it loud.
Refugees are welcome here. Say it loud, say it clear. Refugees are welcome here. Say it loud, say it clear. Refugees are welcome here. Solidarity, everyone, and remember, stand up to racism and unite against fascism in this dreadful, awful race.
Refugees are humans too. We got hate. Let us through. Refugees are humans too. We got hate. Let us through. Refugees are humans too. We got hate. Let us through. Refugees are humans too. We got hate. Let us through. Refugees are humans too. We got hate. Let us through. Refugees are humans too. We got hate. Let us through. Refugees are humans too. We got hate. Let us through. Refugees are humans too. We got hate. Let us through. Refugees are humans too. We got hate. Let us through. Refugees are humans too. We got hate. Let us through. Refugees are humans too. Say it loud. Say it clear. Refugees are welcome here. Say it clear. Refugees are welcome here. Say it loud. Say it clear. Refugees are welcome here. Say it clear. Refugees are welcome here. Say it clear. Refugees are welcome here.
If you do that for animals, you don't do that to human beings. We are standing up. Look how they treat refugees now. That's what we're learning. But it starts with treating refugees like that, and then actually it ends up with anybody saying anything they don't agree with get treated like that. We're not going to be kept here for 2 hours and screened, fingerprinted, photographed, our cars checked. What we're going to do is we are going to have another protest outside the French embassy.